A Lord of the Rings. Battle games in Middle-earth. Learn how to model the landscapes.
In this magazine we're building a hill to use on our battlefield. Hills offer us some nice height to use on the battlefield. Often when we set up our battlefields they can be very flat. Of course we can play on a flat, featureless battlefield, but it's not very interesting. As you'll see shortly, they're quick and easy to make, we don't need much, and it's an easy project to get started on. Some glue. I pretty much use Mod Podge all the time. For this one I'm using some sawdust floss, but you can use static grass. A knife, or I actually bought a foam cutter, which is really handy when working with expanded polystyrene. A marker to draw out our rough shape, some green paint, any shade will do really. I also grab a few rocks from the garden, and some expanded polystyrene. You can use XPS foam, but that seems to be extremely difficult to get here in the UK. In fact, if you know where to get it, message it in the comments below. To get started on the hill, first mark out a rough shape of an oval on your foam. Next, cut it out. A craft knife will work, or as you can see here I'm using a hot wire cutter, which reduces the mess quite considerably when working with expanded polystyrene. It's a bit too thick, so cut the edges down to an angle. Once that's done, I make some small adjustments so that models can stand on the hill and walk up it. Next, paint the foam. I'm using flat green, but really any green will do. Most of it will be covered shortly. Also, no need to use an airbrush, but I have one, so I'm going to use it. Water down some Mod Podge, roughly 2 to 1 with water, and spread it all over your hill. Grab whatever flock you want and just sprinkle it all over. I'm using sawdust flock. I leave it on for about 3 minutes to give it time to soak in, and then turn it upside down to knock off the excess. I found some nicely shaped rocks in the garden and arranged them how I wanted. They really didn't want to stick together, but I used super glue gel as it's a bit thicker, and I held it in place for 30 seconds and they stuck. Give them a quick undercoat. And dry brush with grey. I'm using stone grey here. I chose not to glue the rocks down to the hill so that I can switch them out for other items in the future. And there we have it, a simple hill ready to use on our battlefield. To go along with our newly created hill, I wanted to create and print off some rocks that we can use on the hill. Maybe as a simple stone pillar to mark the grave of fallen warriors, or just to use as scatter terrain on our board. So I designed up and printed off some rocks using Blender and my resin printer. As always, I'll be making these available on Patreon, so if you want to support the channel further, hop over there, sign up and start downloading the models. I've created a few different types of rock and a few shapes for you to use. I designed them hollow and printed in resin, but an SLA printer would be great for these. Each of the rocks gets a coat of primer. I'm going to be using a dry brush technique again. I find using this brown craft paper works better than paper towels. I'm guessing it's because it doesn't take out quite as much moisture as the paper towels do. I'm using stone grey again, but really any light grey will do. Getting most of the paint out of the bristles and then applying to the rocks. Any brush direction will do. I usually start top to bottom, and as more paint is removed from the brush, I start to apply in a circular motion. These rocks are pretty simple to print and very easy to paint, but they really add some visual interest to a battle game.